His hands pressed me against the cold marble countertop as if he wanted to crush my bones into it. His breath was hot, angry, and heavy against my ear, yet his words were like ice sliding down my spine. "You will do exactly as I say," he growled, his voice thick with something darker than love. His wedding ring dug into my hip, a cruel reminder of the vows that now felt like shackles. For a moment, I wanted to fight back, to scream at him for turning me into this obedient puppet. But instead, I closed my eyes, and I thought about another man, his touch, his kiss, his hands that never tried to own me, only worship me. That was the night I realized something inside me had shattered forever. Before I take you deep into this shocking story, I want to take a moment to appreciate every single one of you for subscribing to this channel. A very big thank you to all our new and returning viewers who are yet to subscribe. I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button because it serves as the fuel and energy that will keep powering this channel. Do not forget to engage and share your thoughts in the comments immediately after this video. I truly value your opinions because they keep us connected. My name is Emily Carter. I am 32 years old, a proud American woman, and until a few years ago, I believed in love as much as I believed in the sun rising every morning. I met Daniel Carter when I was 26. He was everything I had prayed for, handsome in a way that turned heads, ambitious, and attentive. He could make me laugh until tears rolled down my cheeks, and when he touched me, it was as if the entire world melted away, leaving only the two of us tangled in sheets and whispered promises. We married 2 years after meeting. Our wedding was perfect. A white lace gown, a church filled with roses, vows spoken with trembling voices because our hearts were too full. The first 3 years were heaven. I was his queen. He treated me with tenderness, passion, and endless surprises. We traveled, we laughed, we made love as if the world could end the next day. I thought, without a doubt, that I had married my soulmate. But then, after our 3rd anniversary, something changed. It did not happen overnight. It was slow, like a disease eating through the foundation of something once strong. Daniel became different. At first, I told myself he was just stressed from work. He had started his own company and was desperate to make it succeed. But soon, the man who once kissed my forehead every morning began barking orders like a commander. "Emily, the house must be spotless before I return. Emily, why have you not prepared dinner yet? Emily, you need to stop wasting time with your friends and focus on this home." His voice lost the warmth I had loved. His touch was no longer tender but demanding, urgent, sometimes rough. He wanted things his way. Every detail of my life monitored and corrected. What I wore, how I cooked, how I cleaned, even how I spoke. He said he wanted a wife who could make him proud, and apparently, I was failing. One night, after he spent an hour criticizing how I folded his shirts, I locked myself in the bathroom and cried until my chest hurt. I stared at my reflection and asked myself when I had stopped being his lover and started being his servant. I tried to talk to him. I begged for us to go on a date night, to bring back the spark. He said he was too busy building a future for us. When I suggested therapy, he laughed and asked if I was losing my mind. Loneliness crept in like a slow poison. I stopped dressing up. I stopped smiling. I was a shadow of the woman I once was. The walls of our big suburban house felt like a cage, and Daniel was the jailer. And then, temptation walked into my life. It happened at the gym. Daniel had suggested I join to stay in shape, because he wanted his wife to look perfect. Those were his exact words, and they stung like needles under my skin. So I joined a local fitness center, not because I cared about what he wanted, but because I needed to escape the prison my home had become. That was where I met Jason. Jason was a personal trainer, tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that curled slightly at the ends and eyes that carried a warmth I had not felt in years. He smiled easily, and when he spoke, his voice was calm, reassuring, the opposite of the sharp commands I had grown used to at home. "Emily, you are doing great," he said during my first session, his hand briefly resting on my back to correct my posture. That simple touch made my heart race in a way it had not for so long. At first, it was innocent. We talked about workouts, health tips, weekend plans. But soon, our conversations went deeper. He asked about me, really asked, like he cared about the answer. And when I told him I loved art but had not painted in years, he said, "You should start again. You look like someone who creates beauty." I did not realize tears were filling my eyes until he handed me a towel and whispered, "You deserve to feel alive." That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about Jason's words, his eyes, the way he looked at me as if I mattered. When was the last time Daniel had looked at me that way? I could not remember. One afternoon, after a particularly harsh argument with Daniel about how lazy I had become, I found myself driving to the gym even though I did not have a session scheduled. Jason was there, leaning against the front desk, his smile lighting up when he saw me. "You okay?" he asked softly. And before I knew it, the truth spilled out of me, every frustration, every tear, every lonely night. He listened, his jaw tightening when I told him how Daniel treated me. "Emily," he said finally, his voice low and steady, "a man who truly loves you would never make you feel small." And then it happened. His hand reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my face, lingering just long enough for the world to stop spinning. I should have pulled away. I should have walked out. But when his lips brushed my cheek, I did not move. For the first time in years, I felt wanted. Desired. Alive. When I finally drove home that evening, my lips were burning, not from a kiss, but from the hunger of what almost happened. I gripped the steering wheel and whispered to myself, "This cannot happen. I am a married woman." But deep inside, I knew it was already too late. The night after I almost kissed Jason, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the low hum of the air conditioner. Daniel was asleep beside me, his back turned, his breathing steady. Once upon a time, I would have pressed myself against him, traced circles on his skin, whispered silly things just to hear him laugh. Now, I felt like a stranger in my own bed. I kept replaying Jason's words in my head, "A man who truly loves you would never make you feel small." Those words cut deeper than any blade because they were true. I turned to look at Daniel. The moonlight from the window cast shadows across his face. He was handsome, undeniably so, but the warmth that used to radiate from him was gone. In its place was this cold, distant man who saw me as a project to fix, not a partner to love. My chest tightened with something between anger and grief. I thought about leaving, but where would I go? And more importantly, what would people say? We were the perfect couple in everyone's eyes. No one would believe that behind the manicured lawn and flawless smiles lived a woman who was starving, not for food, but for affection. The next morning, as I made breakfast, my phone buzzed on the counter. I glanced at it and froze. "Jason, hope you got home safe last night. Thinking about you." My heart skipped a beat. I read the message over and over, my fingers trembling slightly as I typed back. "Me, yes. I am fine. Thank you." I stared at the screen, debating whether to send it. It felt harmless. Just a polite reply. I pressed send. Seconds later, the bubbles appeared. "Jason, you looked beautiful yesterday. I hated seeing you upset. You deserve happiness, Emily." I swallowed hard. No one had called me beautiful in so long. Daniel used to say it every day. Now, the only time he noticed me was when criticizing something. My hands shook as I typed back. "Me, thank you. That means a lot." It should have ended there, but it did not. One message turned into 2, then 10. By noon, we had exchanged dozens of texts. Jason asked about my favorite music, my dreams, things Daniel never bothered to ask anymore. And when he wrote, "If you ever need to talk, or just escape for a while, I am here," something inside me shifted. That evening, Daniel came home earlier than usual. For a moment, I thought he might surprise me, take me in his arms like before. Instead, he walked straight to the living room, turned on the TV, and barked, "Where is dinner?" I told him it was in the oven, and he grunted without looking at me. During dinner, he criticized the food, the way the vegetables were cut, even the temperature of the water in his glass. Every word was like a hammer striking my chest. I sat there, silent, swallowing my tears with each bite of food. After dinner, I went upstairs and locked myself in the bathroom. I slid down against the door, my heart pounding, my phone clutched in my hand. Without thinking, I opened Jason's chat and typed, "Me, can you meet me tomorrow?" His reply came almost instantly. Jason, name the time and place. The next day, I told Daniel I had errands to run. He barely nodded, too busy with work calls to care. I met Jason at a small coffee shop downtown. When I walked in, he was already there, sitting in a corner booth, his eyes lighting up when they met mine. He stood, pulled out a chair for me, and smiled that smile that made my knees weak. "Emily," he said softly, and just the way he said my name made me feel alive again. We talked for hours. He listened, really listened, as I poured out everything I had been holding inside. There was no judgment, no criticism, only understanding. And then, when the words ran out and silence settled between us, Jason reached across the table and took my hand. "Come with me," he said. I should have said no. I should have walked away. Instead, I let him lead me out to his car. We drove in silence, the air thick with something electric and dangerous. When he pulled into a small boutique hotel on the outskirts of town, my breath caught in my throat. "Jason." I whispered, but the rest of the words died when he turned to me. "You do not have to do this," he said, his voice gentle. "If you want to leave, I will take you home right now." But I did not want to leave. I wanted to feel something again. I wanted to remember what it was like to be touched with love, not control. So I nodded. Inside the room, everything felt surreal. The curtains were drawn, the lights dim. Jason stood there, watching me as if I were the most precious thing he had ever seen. "Emily," he murmured, stepping closer, his hands cupping my face. "Tell me this is what you want." I could not speak. Instead, I reached up and kissed him. The moment our lips met, the dam inside me broke. It was soft at first, then hungry, desperate, years of loneliness spilling out in that kiss. His hands moved down my arms, slow and reverent, as if memorizing every inch of me. He did not rush. He did not demand. He worshipped. When his lips trailed down my neck, a shiver ran through me so strong I thought I might collapse. Clothes fell away like secrets we no longer wanted to keep. And when he finally entered me, it was not just physical, it was a release, a rebirth. Every thrust whispered what Daniel had made me forget: you are beautiful. You are worthy. You are alive. When it was over, we lay tangled in sheets, our breaths mingling in the quiet. For the first time in years, I felt peace. But it was fragile, laced with guilt that clawed at the edges of my mind. Jason kissed my forehead. "You deserve happiness, Emily. Do not let anyone make you believe otherwise." I nodded, though tears stung my eyes. Because I knew the truth, what I had done could destroy everything. The next weeks were a blur of stolen moments and secret texts. I became an actress, playing the perfect wife at home while sneaking off to meet Jason whenever I could. He made me laugh, made me feel young and wild again. But guilt was a shadow that never left. Every time Daniel touched me, I flinched. Every time he barked an order, I felt a surge of anger followed by shame. And then, one night, as I slipped into bed after meeting Jason, Daniel rolled over and looked at me in a way he had not in months. "We need to talk," he said, his voice low, almost dangerous. My heart stopped. I froze, every muscle in my body tense, wondering if he knew. Had he found out? Had someone seen us? When his next words came, they chilled me to the bone. "I know what you have been doing, Emily." His words hit me like a thunderclap. "I know what you have been doing, Emily." My heart stuttered in my chest, my breath catching as if the air had turned into concrete. I forced myself to look at him, praying that I had misheard. Daniel's eyes were dark, piercing, almost predatory in the dim glow of the bedside lamp. What do you mean? My voice was barely above a whisper. He sat up slowly, his movements calm in a way that made them terrifying. Calm was never a good sign with Daniel. He clasped his hands together, resting his elbows on his knees, and tilted his head just enough to make my stomach twist. You think I am stupid, he said softly. His tone was not angry. That scared me more than if he had shouted. I know, Emily. I know everything. My mouth went dry. My brain screamed at me to say something, deny it, fight it, but my throat locked up. Instead, I just sat there, frozen, as he stood and walked toward the dresser. When he turned back, he was holding my phone. He tossed it on the bed in front of me. The screen was lit, and my stomach dropped when I saw the open chat. Jason's name stared back at me, along with words that might as well have been a confession. Last night was perfect. I cannot stop thinking about you. My chest tightened, my vision blurring at the edges. I wanted to speak, to explain, but what excuse could I possibly give? The truth was there in black and white. Daniel's lips curved into something that was not a smile, not exactly. It was colder, sharper. You think you can humiliate me, he said, his voice dropping lower, his words slicing through the air like a blade. After everything I have given you, everything I have built for us? I opened my mouth, but he cut me off with a raised hand. Do not bother lying. Do not insult my intelligence any further. I felt tears sting my eyes, but I held them back. Crying in front of Daniel never worked. If anything, it made him harder, crueler. Who is he? Daniel asked, his voice calm, controlled. That was worse than shouting. Tell me his name. I stayed silent, staring at my hands, because saying Jason's name out loud felt like signing his death warrant. Daniel's fist slammed against the wall so hard that a picture frame fell, shattering on the floor. I flinched, my heart racing. His name, Emily. It does not matter, I whispered finally. His laugh was bitter, humorless. It matters to me. Everything matters to me. My wife sneaking around like a cheap whore matters to me. Those words burned. They cut deeper than any slap could. I wanted to scream back, to tell him how he had pushed me to this point, how his cruelty had suffocated me. But all that came out was a choked sob. Daniel turned away, running a hand through his hair, his chest heaving. When he faced me again, his eyes were dead, like something inside him had snapped. Get dressed, he said flatly. Daniel. Now, Emily. We are going for a drive. The night air was cold, biting against my skin as I stepped outside. My heart pounded in my chest as I slid into the passenger seat of his black SUV. The silence between us was suffocating, thick with tension and something darker I could not name. I stared out the window, my fingers twisting in my lap, while Daniel drove without a word. Streetlights flashed by like ghosts, and with each passing mile, dread settled deeper into my bones. Finally, he pulled into a deserted parking lot overlooking a lake. The moonlight shimmered across the water, casting everything in silver shadows. He killed the engine and sat there, gripping the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles were white. For a long time, he said nothing. Then, without looking at me, he spoke. Do you love him? The question hung in the air like smoke. I opened my mouth, closed it, then whispered, no. I do not. Daniel turned his head slowly, his eyes searching mine as if trying to read the truth in them. Then why, Emily? Why betray me? The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Because you stopped loving me. Because you turned me into something I am not. Because I was drowning, Daniel, and he made me feel alive again. His jaw tightened, his nostrils flaring. For a moment, I thought he might hit me. Instead, he laughed, softly, bitterly. And looked away. You think this excuses what you did, he said, his voice laced with venom. You think this makes you the victim? No, I whispered, tears sliding down my cheeks. But it is the truth. Daniel leaned back, staring at the dark lake. When he spoke again, his voice was eerily calm. Here is what is going to happen, he said. You are going to end it with him. Tonight. You are going to delete every message, block his number, and forget he ever existed. If you do not, he turned to me, his eyes cold and unblinking. I will ruin him. And I will ruin you. My breath hitched. Daniel. Do you understand me, Emily? His voice was ice. I will destroy him. I will make him regret ever touching you. And you will lose everything. This house. Your family. Your friends. Your name. Do you understand? I nodded slowly, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. Because I knew Daniel meant every word. When we got home, I did as he said. I deleted Jason's messages, blocked his number, erased every trace of him from my phone. My hands shook as I did it, tears streaming down my face. It felt like cutting out a piece of my own heart. But just as I thought it was over, just as I thought I could crawl into bed and disappear, Daniel dropped a bomb that shattered everything. I am filing for divorce, he said calmly, almost casually, as if discussing the weather. I spun around, my mouth opening in shock. What? But you said. I said you would end it with him. I did not say I would stay married to a liar and a whore. The word hit me like a slap. My knees went weak. You cannot. Oh, I can, he cut me off sharply. And I will. But I am not letting you walk away clean, Emily. You are going to suffer. Just like you made me suffer. And then, he turned and walked out of the room, leaving me standing there, shattered, my life collapsing around me. The next morning, I woke to find Daniel gone. On the kitchen counter was a manila envelope. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were divorce papers, and photographs. Photographs of me and Jason. At the hotel. In his arms. Naked. My blood turned to ice. The note on top said, if you fight me on this, everyone sees these. Your parents. Your friends. The world. I sank to the floor, the papers slipping from my hands, a sob tearing from my throat. Bika.